things just got real with the wiring harness. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I got the whole chassis harness in here. I started plugging in some of the modules. So this guy's gonna go all the way up on the top side of the kick panel. It's kind of hard to pick it up right now. It'll fit up there. There's actually not much room under here, so kind of running into a problem there. So I was able to run the harness under the seat. It fits under there. I found that end to this module. Not sure what this module does, but we found that. I haven't really touched much towards the back here. Same with this side. I was able to have the loom go under. It's a little tight. Once I get power to this and I move the seat back and forth, I'll be able to know if that's gonna rub. So we have that fuse box right here. It looks like I'll be able to throw this up here where the factory computer is for a foxbody. It's gonna be tight, but that's where it looks like it's going to sit. I might have to extend one of these connectors depending on the length once I figure out exactly where it's gonna mount. I started identifying some more of these connectors here for the glove box. I have a set of these on the other side. I think these are for the door. I'm not going to be running the door stuff. I have manual windows, and I'll be running power door locks. So I'm going to have to find a diagram and figure out what wires for that. That's a story for another day. Not sure if I covered this in the last video, but this center loom, their branch of wires that were coming up through here, I ended up finding them. There's another branch that was tucked under the dash, and those two meet right in the middle here, the center console. So this is for like the cup holders, the light, one of the modules, parking brake. There's a little USB panel with a cigarette lighter and stuff. So that's most of those connectors and those two antenna wires. So we got all that figured. I still haven't found my turn signal switch and wipers and all that. I'm not running wipers, but I'm not sure where those connectors are. I'm thinking they're part of the engine harness and that comes through the firewall, so we'll have to figure that out. Now this is where it gets interesting. I have the engine harness laid out. I looked up a diagram on the S550 and it's more or less in this shape. So what I can make of this harness is this comes through the firewall, plugs into that fuse box that's in there. Then this comes out to this fuse box. Here's my battery cables. This comes through. This looks like a big ground, maybe the main ground. That looks like my O2 harness. This is to the starter. Maybe headlight stuff right there. Not sure where that all is. There's a couple wheel sensors, so we know where those go. This plugs into the ECU. This goes to my electric fans. I'm gonna try to run the S550 electric fans. See if I can get those. It'll be plug and play, so that would, you know, make this a little easier. But the main issue, guys, is trying to figure out where the hell this thing's gonna go. This is not small or light by any means. Now I wanna tuck all the wires in this engine bay. I don't wanna see any wires. The less wires, the better. So it's going to be hard because I also want this to be accessible. So if something does happen, I don't have to take a wheel off, take off a, you know, fender or whatever to access the fuse box. So I was sitting here for I don't know, a good 30-40 minutes just trying to figure out where the hell I can fit this thing. There's really not much real estate because we got suspension that's gone right here. The tire's probably gonna be about right here. And yeah, there's just not much room here. I even got lucky. I'm able to cheat because if I come over to my hatch, I can get an idea of how much room I got. And there's really not much room. I mean, this isn't even that lowered. Probably got a couple, 2-3 inches right here. So there's no way I can put that fuse box under the fender. Possibly towards the front. That's a possibility. But this is what I'm thinking. If I do put it in the front, I'd have to get my fender on here and see how much space we got and try to work that out. But worst case scenario, what I was planning on, which I really don't want to do, and I think all the signs are there, we're gonna have to cut this and extend this all 11 feet to the trunk. Putting this in the trunk seems like the best spot for this. It's accessible, just pop the trunk, the fuse box is back there. Also, I didn't plan on putting my battery in the engine bay, so that's gonna have to go to the back as well. This is about 40 wires or so. I'm not looking forward to it. It's not that it's a difficult job, it's just very time consuming, and it's gonna get expensive because running 40 wires, 11 feet, that's a lot of wire. But for the most part, this is how the harness is gonna be laid out. I mean, if I were to just move this up onto everything, it's pretty much there. So I ended up pulling out all my parts just to find the ends of the connectors and where they all go. Now the S550 electric fans, they're a little too high, but I might be able to modify this thing to get them to fit in here. Having to buy some new fans and wire them up would add some time rather than making this work to just have it plug and play. And it's already set up with the computer, don't gotta mess with anything. So I'm gonna see if I can get these fans to work. Worst case, I can probably cut the corners off and I just have the fans right there. I can make a mounting point here, there, and there. I swear I spent half my day just staring at parts, trying to think of ways to make it work. I went ahead and labeled all of these groups of wires. I split them up into 9 different groups because if you think about it, I'm either gonna have to cut one wire at a time, put it through a hole, come through the door, and reconnect it to the fuse box. But in order to get the right length and put it exactly where I want it, and to get the most money out of the wire that I purchased, I want to get the length exact. So we're gonna cut all these wires, mount this in the trunk where I want it, measure out the length of the wires, and start splicing them. The reason I did this was because there's multiple wires of the same color and I don't want to risk the chance of splicing the wrong wire. So I broke them up into 9 different groups. I'm going to cut them in the middle. They have a tag for each end, so I know that I can't mix up these wires. It's just a little bit of a safety precaution here. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out the best spot to run this harness. I believe that's the power to the door hole that goes right in there. You can even see the fuse boxes right there. So I was thinking, hey, that's probably perfect for this, but this is a little too big because when you open the door, so it's a little too tight there. That was almost gonna work out perfectly. So instead, I decided that this is the best spot. This comes right past the kick panel, you know, pretty much level with the firewall. It's up high enough that it won't interfere with any trim pieces. And it just so happens that this fits pretty good right here. If this was a little smaller, it wouldn't fit. So I'm gonna run this like that, have this loom going up along here, and figuring out the rest of that later, but I have to drill a hole in this shape. So what I did was I took a piece of cardboard, I put this around here, put it up against the grommet, traced a hole out, so we have our shape that we need. I mean, it just fits in there. And also, this is gonna give me a whole nother loom when I extend all these wires about this size. So that's another loom I need to run through. So I ended up taking my gas tank filler neck seal because I didn't have a grommet big enough. The biggest grommet I had was like 11/16 maybe. It was a little too small. So this is almost the perfect size. And in order to clear all the suspension and the tires and everything, the best spot is right here. So they're pretty much gonna meet with each other, and this just barely fits in there. I might have to trim the outside, but the true size of this grommet is on the inside, so we have plenty of room there. So that'll run and seal my harness. Now I'm lucky because I can cheat. I got another foxbody that's already together here. So if we come over here, I was going back and forth, and we can see that this is the spot that I want to make that grommet come through. So that's plenty of room away from the tire, and it's out of the way. And I have the wires going straight up, so there won't be any issues there. And then as far as the new hole I want to make would be right here. So that's plenty high. So we'll be out of the way of the suspension components and the tire. So that's pretty much where I'm at right now. I'm really trying to just take my time here and figure the best option, because once I start cutting this harness, I really only want to cut it one time. I don't want to have to cut it again. As far as the rest of the harness, I haven't got there yet. I'm thinking the ECU. I mean, we're coming off this loom, so this is probably going to end up about here. You know, where they both meet, and then we have a little bit more length until we have the ECU plug. So for about here, I don't know, it's about 1.5 feet. So we're gonna have to come to about here, and I'm thinking the ECU is gonna fit right here. That'll be a good spot for it. So I think we're looking good as far as the rest of the length is concerned. And then from there, it starts to wrap around to the other side. Just cut her out with the hole saw. Gotta take my cutoff wheel now and just chop off these corners and file it a little bit and see how it fits. there it is. That worked out good. So I ended up flipping it around, and it seems like it fits a little better. I trimmed this edge here around that bulge to help it seal. So I'm gonna call it good there. I also realized I don't want to get ahead of myself because I still have to paint in here. And once I run this harness, there's no taking it out. It's staying in here. So I'm going to work on mounting the fuse box and a couple of those modules, making some brackets. And once I get this thing painted pretty soon, we can finalize all this and get all the wires ran. So what I can do is work on the other side, because we still have a few wires that could have come through on the driver's side for like the brake light switch, and a couple wires going to the pedal assembly, possibly one of the modules. So let's head on to the driver's side and see what we have to do over there. So we don't have one grommet, but we got two factory S550 grommets. There we go. So I gotta figure out where this plug goes first. I want to see where this goes, because if I can somehow get these to go into one, that might be able to sneak in there instead of drilling two holes, you know, just for one little loom. Also, that's probably my best spot right there. That's the factory foxbody cruise control wires and vacuum line. So that'll fit nicely right there. I found these two guys connected up with the body harness here. So there's our grommet. And then I can't find this one. I'm sure it's under there somewhere. And this turned out to be our wiper motor plug. So we do not need to make another hole here. I might just tuck this out of the way somewhere. In case I change my mind later, it'll be there and we can plug it in and it'll be all good. But for now, the only thing that needs to come through is this grommet. So figured that out. That was not too bad. Well, that pretty much wraps this one up, guys. Ran out of time today. Next time, hopefully I'll have the driver's side module mounted by the kick panel and the fuse box on the passenger side mounted up, and we can get that hole drilled for the grommet on the driver's side. So stay tuned for another video, guys, and I'll give you an update of where I am. Appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time.